Tonight, looking ahead at our city's economic recovery as we come out of this pandemic.
There is no reason why this city has to accept adequate.
Mayor John Tory outlining his vision to help the city get back on its feet after more than 2 years of COVID-19 disruption. Plus,
I mean, anything would help. It costs $200 to fill up a car is crazy.
the big issues facing the Ford government as it gets set to unveil a new cabinet tomorrow morning. And
she was screaming and bawling after she found him.
Residents of a Mississauga neighborhood shaken after a man is gunned down in an alleyway. Police still searching for suspects. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Mayor John Tory outlining Toronto's next phase of economic recovery today as the city emerges from the COVID-19 pandemic. Tory optimistic the city will bounce back while also noting the changes in worker habits and consumer behavior. Dale Manukduk has more on the mayor's vision and the challenges the city faces.
I know people sometimes can't stand it when I go on national television programs and say Toronto's the economic engine of Canada. Well, you know what? It's true.
A packed house for the Toronto Region Board of Trade's luncheon applauded and laughed along with Mayor John Tory.
You're not well advised to work at home all the time, even though there's some comfort in that, including not having to wear pants.
Beyond the platitudes and pandemic pants or no pants, he unveiled the pillars that will guide the city: rebuilding, investing, supporting business, growing, and being mindful of the future.
Of course, Toronto has to grow, but let's not forget about helping and keeping the businesses we already have.
The Canadian Federation of Independent Business says Toronto's small shops owe nearly double the provincial average when it comes to debt.
The average COVID debt for a Toronto small business is a whopping $280,000.
Some experts say reimagining the city's outdoor space is key, like the city's popular Cafe TO program.
Entice people and encourage people to be back out and be together in ways that are safe and in ways that also allow businesses to thrive and for community to be fostered.
Tory acknowledged that a major challenge for the city is TTC ridership, which is still way down from pre-pandemic levels. Combine that with the unknown of how many people will actually return to offices makes it very volatile.
The return to work and the return of transit ridership are two sides of the same coin.
Shauna Braille has been studying the impact of COVID-19 on global cities since the onset of the pandemic.
37% of the city's jobs are located in the downtown core. And so that means that however many people are not going to their offices on any given day, and in Toronto, we are not past the 50% mark by any stretch in the downtown. That means that all kinds of other people and jobs and companies are also affected.
Tory also announced he'll convene a volunteer panel of leaders in different fields to provide advice. The members will be announced in the coming weeks. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Premier Doug Ford and his cabinet will be sworn in at Queen's Park tomorrow morning. Ford gets set to name an executive council out of his new and larger PC caucus. Lorenda Redekop has a look at some of the main issues they'll be facing right away.
A Ford government promise is to cut the gas tax as of July for 6 months by 5.7 cents a litre. Drivers hope it'll be passed on directly to them.
I mean, anything would help. It costs $200 to fill up a car is crazy. But, I mean, that's the price we pay, I guess, for driving these enormous vehicles.
This man runs boat taxis to the Toronto Island.
Gas prices are kind of ridiculous, but, I mean, I have an electric bike and I don't really have a car, so I don't care that much, but I mean, we had to drive up our prices for the Tiki taxi.
From $10 to $12. Prices are up in many places, including housing and at the grocery store. Pressure will be on the new government to do something.
We're here to deliver 25,000 letters from frontline education workers all across the province.
Today, one education union had a delivery for the Premier. Their 55,000 members include educational assistants, janitors, and secretaries, making an average of $39,000 a year. She also had a message for the most recent Labour Minister. He put out a tweet yesterday promising better jobs and bigger paychecks.
Monty McNaughton said that he has the back of every worker and he's out to make sure that everyone has a better paycheck. We're holding him to it. It's time to get to the bargaining table.
They're looking for an increase above the cost of inflation. Other public sector unions in education and health will also be looking for raises.
I think we could expect conflict there, especially as there's uncertainty about the long-term inflation rate.
Another urgent healthcare issue will be dealing with crowded emergency rooms and a shortage of nurses, from a government promising the most healthcare spending to build new hospitals, years until they're finished.
The issue at the moment is about space, but it's also about personnel. So building more buildings doesn't solve the problems if you don't have the skilled personnel.
A big question will be who will replace Christine Elliott as health minister. Names previously mentioned to CBC include Sylvia Jones and Prabmeet Sarkaria. Unlike the last swearing-in, this one will be held outside. More space for the second-term, larger PC government. Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
The gun violence continues in another Peel Region neighborhood, this time in Mississauga at Glen Erin Drive and Britannia. Neighbors at the housing complex there shaken after a 45-year-old man was shot and killed outside his own home. Ellie Chiasson has more.
Last night I was watching TV and I heard something that sounds like fireworks. And then I heard 5, 6, 7 shots rang out. And I fell off the bed, scared, ran to my sister's room and told them I heard some shots.
Residents of this co-op housing complex were stunned to hear one of their neighbors was gunned down around 10 o'clock last night. Seeing his grieving wife by his side made it even more tragic to witness.
She was screaming and bawling after she found him.
Peel police have been canvassing the neighborhood and scouring surveillance video. The property manager provided them footage that shows at least one man running up on the victim.
He was just covering his face or marks.
Neighbors heard the gunshots fire in a couple of rounds. The first few, then a pause, and then several more gunshots. This suggests the victim was trying to run away before he collapsed on one of the pathways between these units here. The suspect or suspects did get away.
There has been quite a few shootings even in just the last week. This is our 18th homicide for this year.
That's 4 more murders than 2021 saw in the entire year.
I feel very sad, very worrisome, very troubling. Our neighborhood is a very nice neighborhood, and lately it's just been a lot of crimes.
While the Major Crimes Bureau is working to solve the case, Peel police say residents can always help.
Any information, so check if you do have video surveillance at your residence, if you do have dash cam footage on your vehicle, just reviewing it for around the time frame that you're hearing that these incidents are happening would be beneficial, just in case you may have caught something that you didn't realize.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Mississauga.
A GTA man whose 3 children were killed by a drunk driver almost 7 years ago was tasered by police Sunday, just one day before he died. Edward Lake was found dead Monday, the day after Father's Day. Peel police say they were called to his home Sunday to investigate an altercation, adding that they've attended Lake's home in the past. Investigators say the mental health team was not deployed. When officers arrived, an altercation occurred between Lake and police, at which point he was tasered. Paramedics also attended the scene. Lake was charged with 1 count of assault and taken to the hospital to be assessed and was later released. Peel police officers offered their condolences to the Lake family. The province's Special Investigation Unit is not looking into the case. Dalia Atri joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Dalia, another hot one today, not like yesterday, but temperature is still quite up there.
That's right, Kelda. I mean, it's not as hot and humid as it was yesterday. We got a little bit of that break from the humidity, but it still felt pretty dry and hot. But I mean, who's complaining? It feels like summer. That's how it should feel this time of year. Hot day ahead. That's tomorrow. Sunday, it will rain, so I'll have more on that in just a second. And Monday and Tuesday, there's going to be a dry commute as you start off your week. The daytime highs earlier today were 28 degrees. Hamilton was the hot spot, 29. If you take a look at Ottawa or Windsor, 26 degree, a little bit on the cooler side there. And taking a look at how the weather is going to pan out overnight, it's going to be 16 degrees tonight. We get a little bit of a break from those hot conditions, and then over to tomorrow afternoon, 29 degrees, but with that humidity, it'll feel like 31. As for tonight, it will drop to 16 degrees, like I mentioned, so we get a little bit of a break from those dry conditions, those hot conditions, and 13 degrees in Mississauga. Same thing in Hamilton is 15 degrees. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 29 degrees. Sunday, you're hitting the Pride Parade, make sure you grab an umbrella because it's going to rain.
Thanks so much, Dahlia. A report today from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation will not come as good news for many would-be homeowners. It says housing stocks would need to rise to more than 22 million units by 2030 to make owning a home affordable. Now, 20 years ago, an average household needed to devote between 40 and 45% of their income to buy a house in Ontario and BC. As of last year, that number had soared to almost 60%. The CMHC says the housing supply has not responded to demand over the past 2 decades, resulting in the loss of affordability. A Toronto woman says she hasn't been able to live comfortably in her downtown rooming house after a neighbor recently died. She says the body of the elderly man went undiscovered for weeks, adding that the smell is unbearable and her landlord has yet to have the room cleaned. Greg Ross shares her story.
I was concerned about this person.
Fiji Moryogaya says sometime in May she stopped seeing an elderly man who lived across the hall from her in this rooming house on Sherbourne Street. She didn't hear any noises coming from his apartment either. Her concern only grew days later when she noticed something else.
It started smelling in the house, so I thought garbage or something.
On June 1st, she contacted her landlord asking them to come and check on the man, but she says she never heard back.
I called her 3 times and messaged her. She didn't respond.
We reached out to the landlord, who wasn't able to speak to us on camera, but she told us she asked another tenant to check in on the man. She says that tenant told her that he was fine. On June 14th, the smell was so bad, Moryogaya called 911.
I called the emergency, then immediately fire workers came and they broke the lock and opened the door. And they said he passed away.
She says the smell was even worse after emergency crews opened the door. So much so, she left to wait for her landlord to clean the unit.
I can't eat and I can't cook because I feel like vomiting.
Moryogaya says she's still staying with a friend and waiting.
The landlord tells us that she hasn't been able to get into the unit to clean it because it's still being held by police as part of an investigation.
Police have confirmed that this is still listed as under investigation. Moryogaya has lived here for 12 years. She says she's considered moving, but isn't sure she can afford it.
Yeah, very expensive, not affordable to move out now, this crisis time, and the rent are increased.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
A new healthcare hub for gay, bisexual and trans men is set to open in downtown Toronto next month, something members of the 2S LGBTQ+ community says will improve access to key resources.
For people who are within the community, a lot of times they can face stigma within healthcare. It can be difficult to go to a healthcare provider who doesn't necessarily understand what your healthcare needs are. And really, having the patients have to explain to their healthcare provider what tests they should do or what their needs are is not the position people should be in.
The clinic located at Bay and College Streets will focus on HIV and STI testing and will give queer men easier access to STI treatments and preventative medicine. A self-sexual health testing will also be available for patients. The clinic will also offer mental health services. HQ's directors hope the facility will create an inclusive space for gay men and trans people of all backgrounds. A Toronto playwright and LGBTQ activist has been tapped to represent Kiev Pride at this year's Toronto Pride Parade. Andrew Kushner started the We Support LGBTQ Ukraine Fund, an organization that raises money for queer advocacy and humanitarian groups in Ukraine. Natalie Collada has more.
I was terrified. I was just terrified for my friends.
When Russia invaded Ukraine in February, Andrew Kushner felt compelled to help.
I knew what it would mean for a Russian occupation to take hold in Ukraine. It would have meant the persecution and potentially the elimination of queer people. Lots of queer folks in Ukraine were erasing their phones of dating apps. They were erasing their phones of any friend messages. They wanted to just scrub out anything that would give away their queer identities. So I was kicked into high gear. I thought, how do we actually help these folks?
The Toronto playwright started the We Support LGBTQ Ukraine Fund, raising money for LGBTQ NGOs on the ground. For Pride, they're selling this T-shirt with the traditional Vyshyvanka pattern on the front and a special message on the back. He's also representing Kiev Pride as part of this year's parade in Toronto.
if it is going to be a free Ukraine, it's going to be a queer Ukraine. It's going to be a LGBTQ plus friendly Ukraine. And so all I can think of is it's an honor to carry the Kyiv Pride flag. It's an honor to represent them here on Canadian soil.
Because of the war, a Pride march in Kyiv is impossible this year, so other cities are stepping up.
We appealed to the prides all over the world to stand up for Ukraine, to stand up for us. This year, our goal is to raise attention to the situation in which LGBTQI Ukrainians are finding themselves in, right? So we are suffering, we are dying.
Fear of not just becoming caught in the crossfire, but also, he says, the possibility of being targeted.
We see hate crimes in Ukraine right now on the rise because homophobes and transphobes that are around right now are using this situation when the police, when the army are busy with the war.
It's part of the reason advocates say visibility is so important. Toronto's Pride Parade is this Sunday. Natalie Coladas, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. A new space where people can smoke cannabis is being touted as one of the first of its kind in the province. The Cannabis Carnival is being held at Grand Bazaar, located in the Exhibition Place grounds. As Talia Ricci reports, business experts in the industry say we could be seeing more locations like this in the future.
Like most entertainment venues, here at Grand Bazaar, you can order food, listen to music, and mingle.
And also, if you're into cannabis smoking, you can go walk right across there and smoke at the Cannabis Carnival.
That's a new addition in the Exhibition Place grounds, and also in the cannabis space, a separate location dedicated to cannabis consumption.
I think cannabis smokers in general need a safe, responsible place to smoke when they go out. You know, there's a lot of people smoking at home, in cars, over-consuming, and we're just taking a proactive approach for cannabis smokers now that it's been legal since 2018. Under the Smoke-Free Ontario Act, you have to be about 10 meters away from an exit door, so that's what we're doing right here. We're putting a brand new fence line here.
Starkovsky says the location abides by the province's rules, noting the large property helped. He says Mothers Against Drunk Driving and the Ontario Cannabis Store are educational partners, and they're only working with legal cannabis brands.
We've checked all the boxes in order to make sure that we're avoiding secondhand smoke with people as well. There's no alcohol being served in the cannabis area, that everything is above board and everybody enjoys themselves in a safe and responsible manner.
I thought it was quite creative, actually, and we're definitely going to see more of these sort of things pop up as people figure out what you can and can't do with respect to the rules around consumption of cannabis, especially smoking.
The province says it started some consultations on consumption lounges. The head of the Cannabis Council of Canada says spaces like this are a step forward in normalizing cannabis consumption.
It's mostly beneficial for the consumer of cannabis, who, even though we've had legalization, was kind of forced to consume out behind the dumpster. So I think actually that's the really, really big step forward that a sophisticated operator has created within the regulatory constraints, a safe consumption space for over 19 consumers.
And down the road, Smitherman has high hopes that edible products will make their way into indoor lounges. For now, this outdoor space will stick around for at least the summer and potentially become a more permanent fixture on the grounds. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
You're looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline. Mostly clear tonight and a bit breezy after a gorgeous sunny day. Currently a comfortable 22 degrees in the city. Let's go back to Dahlia now with a look at your extended forecast. And Dahlia, cooling down a bit tonight. Tomorrow is going to be another gorgeous day.
That's right, Kelda. It was beautiful yesterday, beautiful today, and you might want to keep your shorts ready for the weekend, except for Sunday, which I'll get to in a second, and keep your sunglasses with you as well. So hot day ahead tomorrow, risk of that thunderstorm coming up over the weekend, and a dry commute as you start off your work week on Monday. Earlier today, temperatures were nice and high and beautiful. Like I mentioned, 28 degrees in Toronto, Windsor 26, Ottawa is on the cooler side, 21 degrees. Now, this is how it's going to look over the next few days. We are going to expect some rain, but Friday overnight looking great. 1 p.m. you still see those clouds just peeking away, making their way out of the frame here, as you can see. And as we head into Saturday, that cloud coverage starts to come in just a little bit. Around 1 o'clock, we're starting to see that those clouds come in, and the precipitation, as you can see over here, is starting to make its way through. And so we are expecting that rain on Sunday. Overnight tonight, it will drop to 16 degrees. We'll get a little bit of a break from those hot temperatures that we were experiencing earlier today. Tomorrow afternoon, we get that lovely sunshine again, 29 degrees, but with that humidity, it will feel like 31 degrees. Overnight tonight, like I said, it will be 16 degrees. Hamilton 15, Mississauga 13, Markham 12 degrees. So a little bit on the cooler side when it comes to Hamilton, Mississauga, and Markham. And as we take a look at your 5-day forecast, so 29 degrees all across the board until Sunday. Friday, it's going to feel like 31 degrees. Saturday is going to feel like 36, which is incredible. Lovely sunshine. It's going to feel like summer. But Sunday, if you're planning on going to the Pride Parade, you might want to grab an umbrella with you or a raincoat just to keep you dry, because you might be spending most of your day outside. But that's 40% chance of rain. So you might get breaks of sunshine. So enjoy it while you can. 14 degrees by the evening. It will be a little cooler Monday and Tuesday. Dry conditions again. We get a bit of a break from that rain. Monday, 20 degrees. Tuesday, 26 degrees, 14 degrees by the evening. Kelda?
Thanks so much, Dahlia. The dog days of summer have arrived at one cafe in New York City. Take a look inside this new, first-of-its-kind dog cafe in the Big Apple. It was opened up by two brothers and their mom who wanted to create something more than a dog-friendly cafe. They wanted one that allowed their four-legged pals to run completely off-leash. Now, the cafe boasts a full menu of treats for dogs and their humans who can sip coffee, socialize, or catch up on some work, all while pets are completely free to roam, roughhouse, and make new buddies. A bloodhound named Trumpet is the winner of Best in Show at this year's Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. This marks the first time the breed has won the top prize. Trumpet had some stiff competition with more than 3,000 dogs from more than 200 breeds competing. Trumpet's handler says she was shocked by the win because the bloodhound is often seen as an underdog. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night, everyone.